On June 22, 1941, the world watched in disbelief as the might of the Wehrmacht, the German war machine, unleashed Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. This fateful decision, fueled by Hitler's ideological obsessions and dreams of Lebensraum in the East, would ultimately prove to be his undoing. Yet what if, on that pivotal day, history had taken a different course? What if, instead of turning east, Hitler had maintained his focus on his original enemy, Great Britain, and the tantalizing prize that lay across the English Channel? This essay delves into this alternate timeline, exploring the military strategies, geopolitical ramifications, and long-term consequences of a world where Hitler never invaded Russia and instead concentrated his forces on conquering England. By the summer of 1941, Hitler's armies had swept across continental Europe, crushing all opposition in their path. France had fallen, the Low Countries were occupied, and the British Expeditionary Force had barely escaped annihilation at Dunkirk. The Soviet Union, ostensibly bound by the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, nevertheless represented a looming threat in the east, a vast landmass teeming with resources and manpower that Hitler both coveted and feared. However, the allure of crushing England, his most persistent and outspoken enemy, may have proved too tempting to resist. However, the allure of crushing England, his most persistent and outspoken enemy, may have proved too tempting to resist. Had Hitler chosen to focus his energies on Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain, the course of the Second World War, and indeed the 20th century would have been drastically altered. Had Hitler chosen to focus his energies on Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain, the course of the Second World War, and indeed the 20th century, would have been drastically altered. This counterfactual scenario necessitates a re-evaluation of Hitler's strategic calculus. The decision to invade Russia in our timeline stemmed from a complex interplay of factors: the ideological imperative of Lebensraum, the perceived military vulnerability of the Soviet Union, and the desire to secure vital resources for the German war effort. However, the allure of a decisive victory over England, achieving what no other enemy had managed for centuries, may have overridden these considerations. The humiliation of the Battle of Britain still stung, and the continued defiance of the British people, embodied by the unwavering resolve of Winston Churchill, presented a constant challenge to Hitler's ambition for absolute European domination. The humiliation of the Battle of Britain still stung, and the continued defiance of the British people, embodied by the unwavering resolve of Winston Churchill, presented a constant challenge to Hitler's ambition for absolute European domination. As the tides of war shifted, America's role became increasingly pivotal. You see, the nation found itself at a crossroads, balancing isolationist tendencies with the pressing need to intervene. It was a time of intense debate and strategic decisions that would shape the future of the conflict. Leaders grappled with the challenges of supporting allies while safeguarding national interests. In the end, America's involvement would prove to be a turning point, altering the course of history in ways that were, well, quite unexpected. Imagine for a moment the world reshaped by a German victory in World War II. The geopolitical landscape would be dramatically different. European borders would be redrawn, with Germany at the center of a vast empire. The balance of power would shift significantly, affecting global politics for decades to come. The influence of the United States and the Soviet Union would be curtailed, leading to a very different Cold War, if one would even occur. In this alternate reality, resistance movements would have sprung up across occupied territories. The fight for freedom would be arduous and fraught with peril. Many would pay the ultimate price in their struggle against oppression. heroic tales of bravery and sacrifice would emerge, highlighting the indomitable spirit of those who refused to bow to tyranny. The cost of freedom would be immense, but the legacy of these resistances would inspire future generations. The ramifications of a German victory would extend far beyond Europe. In the Pacific and Asia, the power dynamics would shift dramatically. Japan, as an ally of Germany, might have expanded its influence unchecked, altering the course of history in the region. The colonial powers would face new challenges, and the path to independence for many nations might be delayed or take a different trajectory. The impact on global trade, cultural exchanges, and diplomatic relations would be profound and far-reaching. Reflecting on this alternate 20th century, we see a world very different from our own. The triumphs and tragedies, the heroes and villains, would all be reshaped by the events of a German victory. It's a sobering reminder of how pivotal moments in history can alter the course of humanity. As we ponder these possibilities, we gain a deeper appreciation for the world we live in and the complex tapestry of events that have shaped it.